The war had ended, but the memories never did. Corin Hale, once a decorated human veteran, now lived far from the cities, on a quiet frontier homestead where the silence felt safer than the noise of civilization. He had fought in the interstellar frontier war for 10 long years, lost friends in every battle, and returned home with more ghosts than medals. But the deepest wound he carried was the loss of his wife, Mara, who died protecting their daughters during the evacuation of Helion Prime. Corin had survived the war, but he had never recovered from that. He raised his 2 daughters alone now. Lyra, age 12, calm, observant, old for her age. Sarah, age 8, curious, energetic, always asking why the sun rose and why the stars shined. Corin did his best, but the role of both mother and father felt impossible. Some nights Sarah cried quietly into her pillow, whispering, "I miss Mama." And Lyra, though she never cried, spent her days carrying a quiet loneliness in her eyes. Corin knew they needed a mother's warmth, something he could never replace. The frontier remained unstable even after the war. Rogue militias, deserter units, and anti-alien extremists patrolled the outskirts, hunting anything non-human, especially dragons. The Draconar had fought on both sides of the war, and their fractured alliances left them scattered, hated, and hunted. One cold evening, while returning from the abandoned outpost, Corin noticed a trail of shattered branches and scorched earth. Something heavy had fallen through the forest canopy. He gripped his rifle and followed the trail cautiously. What he found made his breath stop. A woman, no, a dragon woman, lay collapsed near a broken comms tower. Her scales were cracked, her wing torn, her armor scorched. Glowing ember-like veins pulsed faintly under her skin. She tried to rise, but fell again, trembling. Corin recognized the markings on her armor. A member of the Emberclaw line, an ancient Draconar clan wiped out just days ago. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing gold. "Don't hand me over," she whispered. "Please." Corin's instinct screamed danger. His heart whispered compassion. He asked her name. "Kilira," she breathed. Every law, every frontier rule, every social pressure told him to leave her. If the militia found a dragon on his property, he and his daughters would be executed for treason. But Corin saw something in her eyes, an exhaustion so deep it looked like she wanted death, not escape. A loneliness that mirrored his own. And he made the choice that would change all their lives. He lifted her into his arms. Her wings dangled weakly. Her blood steamed in the cold air. She was heavier than any human, but Corin carried her anyway, step by step, back to his home. Lyra and Sarah were terrified at first when they saw the limp dragon lady on their father's back. But as Corin explained she was wounded and hunted, their fear softened into sympathy. "Will she hurt us?" Sarah asked. "No," Corin said softly. "She needs us more than we fear her." Kilira was placed gently in the barn, wrapped in blankets, her wounds tended by human hands that once fought her kind. That night, Lyra quietly placed a cup of warm water near Kilira's bedside. Sarah placed her favorite toy next to the blanket, to keep her brave. Thus began the unexpected bond between a human veteran, his daughters, and the dragon lady who had stumbled into their lives. Kilira slept for almost 3 days. When she finally awoke, she found herself in a warm, dim barn, wrapped in blankets and lying on a bed of hay and quilts. Her wings still burned with pain, but her ribs were bandaged neatly, and someone had placed a lantern near her, just bright enough so she wouldn't wake in darkness. She couldn't remember the last time someone cared enough to think of such details. Corin visited her every morning, bringing soup, water, and medicine. He never asked questions, never treated her like a monster. He spoke with a soldier's calm, with the steady tone of someone who understood what it meant to survive unwanted. His daughters were a different story. Sarah peeked into the barn every hour, asking questions that made Kilira's cheeks heat in embarrassment. "Why are your eyes glowing? Can you breathe fire? Are your scales soft? Do dragons fall in love?" Lyra, older and more reserved, asked quieter questions, questions about Kilira's clan, about Drakenar honor codes, about the war. Kilira's voice trembled when she spoke of her past. Her clan, the Emberclaw line, had been ambushed by extremists. Her parents, siblings, cousins, all gone. She had run while carrying 2 younger hatchlings, only for them to die in her arms before she reached safety. She confessed this to Corin late one night, unable to hold it in. "I should have died with them," she whispered. "I am the last Emberclaw. A shameful survivor."
Corin shook his head.
"Surviving isn't shameful. It's brave." His words struck her harder than any wound. As she healed, she spent more time with the girls. Sarah would braid flowers around the edges of Kilira's wings, proudly declaring, "Miss Kaylee looks pretty now." Lyra would ask Kilira to teach her Drakenar discipline exercises, mimicking her movements with surprising skill. For the first time in ages, Kilira felt something fragile blooming in her heart. Belonging.
Warmth. Family.
But the outside world remained hostile. Drones began patrolling closer. Corin saw strange footprints near the forest line, human boots, militia boots. Kilira could sense danger too. "This cannot last," she told him. "Your kindness will cost you your life. And your daughters." Corin looked at her with quiet determination. "And letting you die would cost me my soul." The fragile peace of the homestead trembled as threats grew closer. The danger became real one afternoon when a convoy of armed militia vehicles stopped outside Corin's property. Their leader, Commander Valtor, stepped out, a scarred man Corin once commanded during the war. Valtor's smile was cold. "Rumor is, a dragon survived the Emberclaw massacre. Rumor also says she fled into these woods. You haven't seen anything, have you, Hale?" Corin maintained a calm expression, but his heartbeat hammered like gunfire. "No," he said evenly. "Just me and my girls." Valtor ordered a search. Kilira hid in the storm cellar, trembling as heavy footsteps stomped above her. Lyra and Sarah hid beside her, gripping Kilira's claws tightly. When the militia finally left, Corin's relief lasted only minutes, because he knew Valtor didn't believe him. "We have to get you out," Corin told Kilira that night. "If they find you here, they'll kill us all." Kilira accepted this, with a hollow expression. "I understand. I will leave at dawn." The girls overheard. Sarah broke down sobbing. Lyra shouted through tears that Kilira belonged with them. Corin was shattered. But before any plan could be made, the attack began. At midnight, Valtor returned with a full strike team. Explosions tore through the yard. Drones swarmed overhead. Soldiers stormed the barn and house. Corin grabbed his rifle. Kilira spread her wings. Both stood together. The battle was fierce. Corin fought with precision, disabling soldiers, protecting his daughters. Kilira roared with blazing fury, unleashing the full fire of the Emberclaw bloodline. Flames erupted, wings slashed through armor, and the militia retreated in terror. But the homestead burned. Corin, soot-covered and exhausted, watched everything he built collapse into ash. Kilira landed beside him, trembling, wings scorched, smoke rising from her scales. She knelt before him. "I have brought danger to your home," she whispered. "I should leave." Corin cupped her face.
"No.
You protected my daughters. You didn't destroy this home. You saved it." Lyra and Sarah ran to Kilira and hugged her tightly. And in that moment, Kilira realized she was no longer just a survivor. She was part of a family. The family left the burnt homestead and traveled deeper into the frontier, where a hidden settlement welcomed refugees of all species. Humans, Drakenar, and others lived together, rebuilding lives without hatred. Corin became a protector of the settlement. Kilira became a teacher and guardian. The daughters flourished. Sarah began calling Kilira Mama Kaylee without thinking. Lyra used mother intentionally, meaning every word. Kilira's heart, once shattered, now beat with purpose again. Yet she still feared she didn't deserve this new home. One quiet evening, under a sky full of stars, she confessed to Corin, "I fear I can never replace what your daughters lost. Perhaps I should not stay." Corin stepped closer, his voice soft but steady. I'm not asking you to replace anyone. I'm asking you to stay because you've become part of us. You are their protector, their comfort, their strength. Kilira's eyes glowed faintly with emotion. And you, she whispered. Why do you want me here? Corin looked at her with the same expression he once gave his late wife, one of deep, quiet love. Because you need shelter. He took her hands gently. And my daughters need a motherly heart. Kilira's breath caught. Her wings unfolded slowly, wrapping Corin and the girls in a warm, protective embrace. I will stay, she whispered. Not as a guest, but as family. And so, in the ashes of war and the ruins of old worlds, a new family was born, not bound by blood, but by strength, compassion, and love.